This is Al Fritsch. I'm the pastor of St. Elizabeth of Hungary Church at Ravenna, Kentucky. We are going to tell you of how we have made this church a green church and how our congregation has been involved in this throughout. The first part of this is to remember that in trying to green a place, it takes time. People can't do it in a flash of a second, in a moment, a day, a month, a year. It takes a decade to do this at least. And therefore we have to have patience in our approach to changing things. Otherwise people get upset, and we don't want that to happen. The second part is we have to have the permission of the people. We have to have a parish council that is in an agreement, and they have opened this to the entire parish. This is Rosemary Capo, who's the head of the parish council, and she's wanting to tell us something about the need of assent on the part of all the people. Rosemary?
Yes, Father Al, we've talked about many of these things over the years, and we usually try to bring them up a little bit at a time throughout the years at our parish council meetings. These are kind of different ideas. For some people they may not be different at all, but for our area maybe a lot of it is a little bit new. So we want to make sure that everybody is in assent. We usually talk about it at our parish council meetings, and make sure that everybody understands what's going on and why we want to do these things, and make sure that everyone is in agreement. And usually we try to get 100% agreement. If not, we want to get as close to 100% agreement. And we've been very fortunate here at St. Elizabeth's. We have a lot of folks who are extremely environmentally aware, and so we've done a lot of good things here, and our parish is right along with us.
Besides the length of time and permission of the people, we have a third aspect also, and that is that it's never ending. It's an ongoing, a work of progress, and that's in progress. And so we can remember that it's never a finished operation. To make something green means that you have to continue to work on it and find new ways of being better. The first aspect of a green congregation should be trying to do and use renewable energy as much as we can. And so therefore we put these panels, 32 of them, up there on the church hall, and this supplies all the energy needed for the church itself and for the hall itself. And this is available now, as it can be seen, for good, it's a southern exposure, and it's there for the whole year. And of course, even on days when the sun is not shining, there is still a certain amount of energy coming in. And this gives us the principal way in which we can green, and that is renewable energy. It took us a time to get it all set up because it takes people having to supply it, both with assent, that is, affirming it, and also with the funds that it takes to do it. But over a period of time, in this case we said it would take 14 years to amortize. It really will take a lot less because we had a large number of donations, and it cost about $20,000. And so it will take a period of time for us because we already were an energy efficient area. And therefore the company that did this, Solar Solutions of Lexington, said that we were already conserving, therefore the amount of money that we would save would be less than what some of the more expending type of parishes were and congregations were having to endure at this time.
Okay, so for the last month you can see what we've generated daily. Again, about 27, 28 is what our average usage is for the church per day. And last year we used a total of, what was the total here? 10,250 kilowatt hours. And that comes up to 854 kilowatt hours per month, or 28 kilowatt hours per day. And the system is estimated to generate 10,530 kilowatt hours for the year. So that's why we decided on a 32 panel system, so it would produce enough energy for our needs on the average for the year.
Yes, sir. I've noticed that the number's going down since you put the solar system on the roof. Yes, I have.
And you work with Kentucky Utilities, which furnishes
Yes,
electricity.
sir. I work with Kentucky Utilities.
Thank you.
Yeah, nothing smells better than clothes that have been hanging on the line, and I never feel like I should use a machine when God can do the work for me.
We're talking now about moving to energy efficiency. And here we look inside the church itself and see that the LEDs, light emitting diodes, have been put into the main portion of the church overhead, and they are also being applied to other areas too, along with compact fluorescent bulbs, which are all more energy efficient than the incandescents that were used in the past. So we have tried in our church to gradually move over to a greater efficiency as far as lighting goes. But not only lighting, also we include insulation in the portions of our church and buildings, so that we can use less of the heat that was needed in wintertime, and it conserves the coolness that we try to capture at night in the summertime. And third, we have the hot water that we have. That always takes energy too, but we have now units which are hot water on demand, and these can really cuts into a lot of the use of water that's just stored and used over only a period of time. And so in all of these three areas, lighting, insulation, and in hot water heating, all of these are areas in which we have tried hard to be more energy efficient. The landscape itself must fit into the neighborhood. And we have mountains here all around us, and therefore the green space that we have should reflect in some way the wildlife, the trees, the different parts of the land, the environment itself. We also have landscape, and of course landscape depends on the countryside in which we are in, which has the trees in the background and the mountains here, and this is all part of our environment. But we have 3 acres, and it's green space normally, and it has been lawn for the greater part, and we're trying to change that lawn into an edible landscaping. And the tree that we see in the background, of course, is a mulberry, and it does very well in the summertime. And we have a number of trees from different fruit areas, and nuts too, which are coming on as the years progress. And along with that, we have an herbal garden, which we have seen at different times, and they're more active during the summertime. And we have a lot of vegetables too. Besides edible landscaping, part of the land is actually used for wetlands and for wildscape. If we look in the area that's bordered here at our left, it's just been introduced because it's a marshy area. This church was built over a spring. An elderly man remembers before the 1930s when it actually was a running spring there. And the land is very marshy and wet, and therefore the mowers get bogged down when they come through. And in place of that, we've placed a wetland where we're using plants which are native wetland plants, and they've been sowed in here, and they are now growing. As we move around, we see what the wildscape is referring to is the border back in behind there has a lot of the materials that we use and do not compost, and those are back there in order to help for the rabbits to have a place to stay and be sheltered. And also to the right is one too. And these areas are where birds can have sanctuary also. And so it's necessary that we allow other things than just human beings to have an edible landscaping. And we have Ann Miller here, who actually takes care of that pond. Can you say a few words?
Oh, I can. I've adopted that pond, and it's like a member of the family. So what we usually do, we have found a place in Lexington, and it's very environmentally friendly, and they sell me what I need to put in there to keep it from getting all gucky and ugly, and it doesn't hurt the frogs. It was meant to be a frog pond, so we put a substance in about once a month all through the spring and summer season, and then we also have something in the winter, and it helps break down the debris of the leaves and things so it doesn't get so nasty. And of course we added some flowers, and we had to watch, or some water foliage, and we had to watch because it will take over. But it does make a nice cover for the frogs that are there, and it does for some reason help to keep the water a little cleaner. So, and then we've got two little pumps down there. Of course we had to use solar because we don't have any electricity to run down there, so we're dependent on the sun, but they keep the water moving to keep it from getting all gunked up and filmed over. So that's we love it, we love it.
Water is an important area of any church, and also the saving of it and using it when it's dry is an important time too for conserving the water that we have. We have this house, which is 90 years old. It had a 10,000 gallon cistern down below here. We can turn it on after we've washed off the roof, and then the water, the clear cut of the water, can be used and stored, and used especially on irrigation of our garden when it's needed during dry times of the year. We have a further catchments in having two rain barrels which catch off of one of our storage buildings, and this is used also in watering flowers in the garden itself. It holds 55 gallons each one. Compost bins are part of an integral recycling system. We send a lot of materials, including plastics and cardboard, paper. We send that to the local recycling center on a weekly basis. But this compost bin takes care of all the organic materials, which are the scraps from the kitchen and from the garden, and any other things on the grounds that could be thrown into this bin, and it turns into soil very quickly. And that soil is taken and used in flower pots and in parts of the garden itself. And over the period of time, 20, 50, 100 pounds of material will be recycled and put back into the soil. And so a compost bin, which is made here by just taking pallets and putting three sides of them like a C and putting those in, and they last for 6 or 8, 10 years, and it makes a good place because you need moisture and you need the air. All of this is part of composting, and you need to turn it on occasion. And so all of these are needed in order to make a good compost that can be used on the grounds. Charity is another area that we have, and these people, Ann and George, are a couple that show volunteers, along with Ann Miller, who's been on our show. And this, Ann, will you tell us a little something about the charity that's done with all the mass of material that's all recycled here by good people, and it's going to be sold to low-income people. Am I right?
You are right, Father. The items you see that we are selling for our annual Christmas Bazaar have been donated by members of our parish and by our benefactors also. Our parish also, members volunteer their time to come and sort and separate and price the items. And our annual bazaar is usually held on the first Saturday or the second Saturday of November each year.
Wonderful.
And most of the items, I have to say we do very well, but most of the items we usually, they're priced, $6 is a big price unless you've got a lot of dishes or things, but they're priced very reasonable so that our community can take advantage and have some pretty things for Christmas. But we try to keep it down there so we can help out.
Well, this basement sale is held almost monthly. We don't have the sale in July and usually in January because it's too close to Christmas for us to get ready. And things are very, very inexpensive. Clothes over here on the tables are 50 cents, and everything else, some things are, like these dishes, are going to be, what will you give me? But we try to make a little bit of money off of this sale because it helps the people. For one thing, they take better care of something they have to pay for. But part of the reason that we ask for some money is it goes back into the community. When we make money here, we can use it to pay people's bills sometimes. So.
The third area is not a sales area as in our charity, and that is to actually give to people who come on a more daily type basis and who need food, especially at the end of the month, to tide them through. We give them meat and bread materials in the deep freeze. We also have canned vegetables, soups, and also different types of fruit and canned fruit and other materials such as spaghetti and macaroni and others that they can have. And we try to do this for people who are in real desperate need, and our area does have a number of them. Transportation is a key aspect of keeping a place green. You have to have cars that, first of all, are energy efficient. This car here that Sister has is getting 51 miles to a gallon right now and more, and others that we have get over 40. We have a van that we carpool with and bring in materials, which does very well also, as you can see in the background. We also think about cars not only in what they are or can do, but also how well we upkeep them. We will check their tires on a regular basis. We will try as hard as we can to be energy efficient in the way we drive them. And we also try to keep them well tuned and ready for winter and summer excesses. One area we did not speak about is that of a comfort zone that we will have, and that means that we try to keep everything at about the same temperature year-round. That's harder to do than many people think in the United States, because people will always heat higher in wintertime than they consider comfortable in summertime, and they'll do the opposite in summer. They will make it cooler than what they would allow in wintertime. This is a horrible thing for actually increasing the amount of energy being used. We haven't gotten into that to a great degree at our parish because it's something that you have to work into over a period of time. But we should have one temperature, such as it should be like 70 degrees. Then you can go down to as low as 65 degrees in wintertime, or a little higher to 75 in summertime. Now, rating your cooling and heating according to these ranges allows you to save immense amounts of energy. People don't realize that because of the way in which Americans a lot of times heat so high at one time of the year and so low at others. But it's the comfort zone is something we have to talk about. It's an area which we discuss, and we also have to regulate our temperatures in our buildings accordingly. Publicity is one of the final areas, and that is the word of the Lord should be spreading to all the world. And that means, what it means is that we try to say and profess in word what we're actually doing. In other words, it's the opposite of people who always preach but never act or do. But what happens when people are doing good things and not letting the rest of the world know it? And so our publicity has increased as our property becomes greener, and it ought to. And we ought to spread to others through the videotaping that we do, through our interaction on the internet, social media, through and that includes emails to others, through our work with the press and with television. And also there could be other areas of work in the community, in civic organizations, and with other churches, where we interact with them and tell them at different times about the things that we are accomplishing. The Lord tells us not to put anything under the bushel basket. Show your light out to the world. And this is part of that, what we consider to be an aspect of greening your congregation. We have concluded our tour of a place that's trying to green itself and make it an example to the rest of the world that it too has to be. When the first American Revolution occurred in the 1700s, the churches were involved, and the people in it became part of the revolution. That's what we're trying to do now. We can't hold on to fossil fuels. It's impossible. And therefore, it's necessary that the churches get involved in showing that it's a moral issue, something that we must do as a people, bring about a change that will save our earth. And this is an important aspect of being church and congregation. This is Al Fritz from earthhealing.info. Come and visit our site sometime.